Recently, I was asked to build a simple pine box for an old coworker of mine that would eventually be donated to the first responders of a tragic event that recently happened, and as usual, I had to make it more complicated than it needed to be. As any craftsman knows, simplicity is often the gateway to complexity. Instead of settling for the ordinary, I decided to infuse a little character into this simple pine box. Their original request was for pine, but keeping with the theme of making things more complicated than they needed to be, I opted to do two, neither of which would be in pine. The choices were cherry and maple, each with its distinct personality, and the idea was to offer a choice. Keep one and make the other one to donate, a symbol of gratitude for those who serve our community in challenging times. With maple's unique grain structure and the promise of a beautiful engraving, it made it the perfect candidate for this special project. Crafting something with weight, character, and a touch of elegance was my goal. Maple seemed like the natural choice. I decided the second box needed its own unique flair, a creative twist that would make it stand out. And for that, I chose cherry. The process began by milling the wood to the perfect thickness with the jointer and planer, followed by precision cuts over at the table saw. The plan was pretty straightforward, multiple cuts, each contributing to the puzzle that would form a seamless joint. I cut all of the pieces to their final length using my crosscut sled. The vertical cuts began, with 8 of the first going smoothly. However, as fate would have it, the first cut needed a bit more depth to ensure a snug fit with its counterpart. And here's where the woodworking tale takes an unexpected turn. As I watch back this footage, one key thing comes to mind: attention. Had I spent just a few more seconds making sure the piece had ample support on the bottom, this could have been entirely avoided. However, with the deadline looming just a day or two away, tough decisions had to be made. The original plan of 2 boxes evolved into a focus on the single maple box. To elevate its elegance, dovetail joinery took center stage. It's a reminder that even in the face of unexpected challenges, the journey of creation continues, adapting and reshaping itself into a story that's unique as the wood itself. Staying in line with the theme of this project, I decided to go with hand-cut dovetails over ones done with a router or bandsaw. Ever since I worked up the courage about 6 months ago to finally try a dovetail, I'm constantly searching for ways to incorporate them into my work. Not only to add a little extra touch of handmade to the piece, but to gain a little bit more experience with the joint itself. It was always something that I thought was out of my league, something that was too difficult to do for me. But like most things in life, nothing is hard, it just takes time. There's something soothing about the sound of the saw teeth as they slowly cut through the fibers of the wood. It's something we miss out on in the world of power tool woodworking. And while I'd like to say that my dovetails look great, they're far from perfect. But this jig from KM Tools is by far the best thing since sliced bread if you're getting into cutting dovetails. And paired with this dovetail saw from Squeeze-On Tools, I really do get a pretty damn close joint every time, assuming that my coping saw skills are half as good. With the first of 4 pairs cut, I can give it a test fit. Nice and snug. With that fitting nice and tight, I moved on to cut the remainder of the joints and onto the Glueup. For this, I'm using Type-On 3 as it's my overall favorite glue and gives me the most open time for projects. I check everything for square, wipe it down with a damp rag, and let it set up overnight. I needed a way to attach the bottom and the top panels. I opted to go for runners that would be attached to the inside of the box and allow for a bottom panel to be rested in afterwards. This isn't really a conventional way of doing it, and in hindsight, I should have cut a groove and embedded the panel in there before the Glueup. Nonetheless, we moved forward. I attached the box lid in the same way, and swapped out my table saw blade for a smaller circular saw blade due to the thinner kerf. This will allow me to save as much material as possible when cutting the lid off. After the lid's off, I need a way for it to attach back onto the box and reference every time. For this, I attach pieces on the inside of the lid instead of the inside of the box to give the most amount of space on the inside. This is where the piece really shines. Look at that curly maple. This was a really fun build to make and going to a great cause. If you want to see the finished product with the engraving on the top, be sure to follow me over on Instagram and I'll post a picture once it's finished. This project definitely gave me its fair share of challenges, but at the end of the day, each and every one of those challenges is a learning experience. If you like this type of content and you want to see more, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on my next upload. And if you like this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up button.